Okay, welcome everyone to wisdom class number 113. Okay, and this class today is all about finding a new perspective on dark forces. And I'm going to define what dark forces is. We're not going to get into, witchcraft or any of that today. Okay, it's not our thing for today. But it is for us to really look at life and figure out how to work with it. And that's my whole goal in this life, is to see people become happy, healthy, and understand how to navigate this life well. So this is a huge perspective to take. So let me start the PowerPoint and share my screen. Oh, that's the wrong one. Let me get the right one. There we go. Okay. Okay. So I called this the microcosm and macrocosm of dark forces, and we're going to talk about what that all means. One of the things that Caitlin, Caitlin and I were talking about, as we came in today, is that there's a lot of information. I felt personally when I first got COVID back in December that there is something synthetic to this, and there's something more to it. And I'm going to talk about kind of how do we take that perspective, because that's kind of dark and kind of devious. You're going to genetically modify a virus. That's interesting. Now, do we have any proof of that? Of course not, but we're going to talk about that too. So let's gain a new perspective of how to look at dark forces. Okay. So the way that I look at dark forces is this. Any influencer that brings about negative experiences, negative feelings, or negative thoughts, okay, any of that kind of stuff, either inside of you or, spurs it out in the world, that is a dark force, okay? Dark forces will be manipulative. They will encourage fear. So you know that there's something dark there if there's some kind of fear being encouraged or induced. And they also create chaos. You have them, as I said, inside of you, everyone, you can't avoid it, and outside of you. So before I go on, I want to make sure that I have chat up for so that I can see. Let me make sure I get this up so that I can see anybody's comments or questions. Remember that you can always send a question. You can keep you can ask a question at any time. Okay, so here we go. Macrocosm versus microcosm. I don't know if you guys remember the story that I shared where I was 6 years old and I had an out-of-body experience, and I walked downstairs and my whole family was sleeping, but my parents had this party the night before, and I was like, whoa, the energy in here is crazy. Of course, I didn't say energy because I didn't know what that meant. But I was kind of like, whoa, this is what's going on. And I felt like I couldn't stand well. And I remember that I laid down on the floor. And as I laid down, I just kind of closed my eyes. And next thing I knew, I was out of my body. And I was out into the universe. And I was like, my body was super, super, super teeny, 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 tiny, small. And then all of a sudden, before I knew it, I was in my body again. And I was like, whoa. And then I was in the very smallest part of my being. And it was like a little universe in there. And I can see my body really, 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 really big. And then I was in my body and out and in and out. And it kept doing this. And I remember I was just freaking out going, oh, stop. And everything just kind of stopped. And I remember getting up, and we had this little blue ice container. And I remember I took the ice container and I just drank all of the water out of it from the ice the night before. Because I was just freaking out. Macrocosm versus microcosm is what my guides were trying to teach me at that moment. However, did they really think that at 6 I was going to get it? No, but they probably knew I'd remember the story and tell it now. So microcosm is just a smaller version of a larger thing that is exactly like it. A macrocosm is the larger version of a smaller thing that is the same thing. It's just in a smaller version, playing itself out in both arenas, just at a larger scale or a smaller scale. Okay, if you look at this picture, you're going to see a picture of the torus, or the way the energy moves around the earth when the sun's rays hit it. That's the torus in the earth. Boy, look at our bodies. We have the same energy field around our heart, from our heart, just like the center of the earth has this energy field, we do too. Okay. I tell people you have an atmosphere just like the earth, you just don't realize it. So macrocosm versus microcosm, if you've been in any of the transition time classes or any of my other classes, you have probably seen already when I show that inside of you, you look like a big universe, and you do. When a hippie comes up to you and says like, oh my God, you're like such a light being, you can be like, yeah, I am a light being. They're called biophotons, but thank you very much. Okay, anyway, I'm not making fun of hippies. I love hippies. I'm a hippie at heart. So anyway, but I don't run around, you know, telling people they're a light being. So, and if anybody wants to, there's no criticism. All right, so macrocosm, microcosm. I want to read something to you. I found this article. I was reading a book. It's called The Collected Works of the Wingmakers. Now, I'll share who the Wingmakers are in a minute, but here's what it is. For those who are on phone, I'll read it to you. The matter of people feeling fear or frustration is a common side effect of life. Once people better understand the dark forces and learn how they try to manipulate the systems of culture, the government in their favor, that, you know, that what happens is they end up getting in fear. But this is also part of the activation, and I'll explain that. Because the individual must again choose to be led by these dark forces or disengage from them and discern their subtle influence on us. You don't turn a blind eye to them, okay? And you don't fear them. Instead, you really see the perfection in them. You see them as a part of your family. They're all souls who are just doing really crummy things, and even spirits, okay? We'll talk about that. They've just lost their connection to their higher frequencies and love. And so what do? We send them compassion. Don't stop exploring these different materials, even if they're controversial. But just, you know, continue to look into your own consciousness. Now, this was a great paraphrasing from these collected works. If you have not been to wingmakers.com, Wingmakers is an amazing, amazing group. And there's the book here, The Ancient Arrow Project, I have read, and I've read this entire collected works. It's really quite amazing. In 1974, there were two college students who were hiking in New Mexico. They found this object, and the object seemed to communicate with them, and they thought they were having a hallucinogen or hallucinogenic experience from it. You know, it was the 70s, and they were like, okay, what's happening? They brought it to their professor. The professor talked to the NCA, I think it was, and that it was turned over to the ACIO, or AC, I won't remember the acronyms, the organization behind the government who looks into UFOs, okay? Well, they ended up uncovering these 23 chambers originally, and in each chamber there was art and music and information, and they're said to represent one of the 23 strands of our DNA that talk about where we actually came from. Then, very recently, they found a tunnel that went from chamber 1, bypassed all the other, and went straight down to a 24th chamber. It's interesting. Now, the guy was in the higher organization who brought this to the world. He defected. And since he is bound by, you can't reveal this information, he took all the information because they were going to hide it, and they were going to not disclose it to people. And he ended up, they wrote fictional stories about these stories, or about what happened, and published it as books. You can also read, his name is Dr. Neruda. He, like I said, defected, and you can read his interviews and you can read the books, but it's really interesting. Whether you believe it's true or not doesn't matter, but the information is amazing. And they have a lot of wisdom. It's not some hokey thing, it's just wisdom, okay? And what they explain is that right now, humanity is transitioning to become wingmakers. Wing is derived from the term wind, which means the active force, a force of setting new states into motion. Makers is the plurality of the co-creators. So what that says is wingmakers means that from the collective essence of humanity, us together, new states of consciousness will come into being. Interesting, huh? So how do we deal then with all of this darkness that's out there, all of these things? Well, dark forces are going to be in two different areas. They're going to be in humanity and they're going to be in the human. So Marcia has a question. She said, Kelly, is this race conscious thoughts from the beginning of time flowing through all of us? Oh, yes, 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 yes. Marcia, you're wise beyond your years, okay? Because you should be, you know, an ancient 500-year-old being. What happens is that our collective humanity has a consciousness, okay? We are all connected, and I'm going to talk about that actually in transition time today. But because we're all connected, we share a collective conscious thought. And there's something even science talks about, which is called the tipping point, okay, or critical mass. When enough of humanity believes something or knows something, suddenly the rest of humanity is kind of coming on board, all right? But they call that the tipping point. So the human being in what we're talking about here, and let me just back up. Marcia, that collective conscious thought has been with us from the beginning of time, absolutely, and it flows through all of us. We also have a connectedness to source, whatever your definition of that is, and we cannot leave it. We would never, ever be sent to Earth without a lifeline, okay? And we've got a lifeline to source. So that conscious information, our collective humanity information, and then the information of you personally is all stored within you. Human in this class is the microcosm. Humanity is the macrocosm, okay? So they're both kind of operating on the same principles, but they're just one is bigger than the other. Okay. So one of the things I want to tell you, and and this is something that's going to be very important for you to understand. Dark forces are a necessary evil. Okay. And I want you to think of it like this, whether it's for humanity or whether it's for you personally, if everything is going well, why the hell change? Really? You know, why would you change something that's working so well? But when you see that something isn't working so well, whether it's in yourself or whether it's globally or whether it's in your society, you want change. So evolution of humanity or evolution of the self is going to come through challenges and choice. That's going to be the word of the day today. It is going to come, like I said, personally and globally. So in the human beings are the microcosm, right? Okay. You are programmed. We're going to talk about the microcosm first. You are programmed with dark forces of the ego. And if you're in transition time, you know all about this. Your ego that is programmed in your DNA from the time that you were conceived, well, from the time that you were, in the womb, you've got an ego, okay? And it keeps you in fear. It's programmed to do that, or you would never learn and grow. You'd be like, isn't life grand? And you'd never change. You'd never be challenged. You would just stay the same. So it keeps you looking for fear. It keeps you looking for fear because you're always looking for love and acceptance and worth and value outside of yourself. So you're going to have this fear that you're not enough, or you're not going to have enough, or you're not going to be enough, or maybe you're not going to have a good enough, job, or successful enough, or handsome enough, or pretty enough, or liked enough. And what happens is that we create these little monsters of behavior inside of us because of the ego, which are hard emotions, negativity, need, insecurity, self-doubt, selfishness, narcissism, okay? And all of that is happening because all that you're doing is looking for worth through other people who are also looking for worth through you. Tricky, isn't it? Everybody's sitting here spinning around looking for their worth through each other, forgetting that you have it inside all along. So you've got this dark force of the ego that is necessary. If it wasn't in you, again, you'd be like, wow, I'm this beautiful divine being. What am I doing here? Okay. So the dark forces of the ego create internal pain and wounding, and it keeps you taking things personal, gets you distrustful, resentful, hurt, insecure, angry, okay? And all of that is perfect, okay? They are necessary. They are by design, and don't think you didn't choose your parents. You did. Don't think you didn't choose the main experiences you were going to have here. You did, okay? They are perfect. All those horrible experiences. That dark force inside of you called the ego, if it weren't there, you wouldn't grow, okay? So this whole human experience is all about choice, people. Choice. You have every moment of every day to choose the dark in you or choose the light in you. Okay, and let's talk about that. What is this dark? Dark is fear. It's always fear. It is fear driven. It is fear based. Okay, it is feeding on fear that you're not good enough, not liked enough, you're not loved, you're not supported, you don't have enough career, money, status, power, your home, family relationships aren't good enough. You have dislike for yourself or dislike for others, depression, anxiety, worry, stress, emotional roller coasters, disempowerment, or being powerfully aggressive. All of that is your dark force, my friends. They are products of the dark force of the ego. Now, you got that inside of you, and you can see it's necessary. Let's look at the other dark. Now, here's where it's going to get a little weird. So you're going to have to put on your weird pants and just kind of go on this little ride with me here, okay? You can also look at things like entities or spirits, dark energies, or dark humanoids, excuse me. Dark entities or dark spirits are really just a deceased person who chose not to go into the light. What my guides explained, and you can take it or leave it, they said, you have this human experience in this lifetime. When you pass, you have to reincarnate again and again and again and again and again and again and again until you've learned absolutely everything there is to learn. And then you go, hey, can you forgive yourself for all of these experiences? Hey, can you love yourself even though you might have been the biggest jerk? Hey, even though you're full of insecurity, can you find some internal power? Oh, you can. Well, then you're done with Earth life. But until you're done and you find pure unconditional love, there's a place in between, okay, that's called purgatory. That doesn't mean you're going to go to hell. You want to know where hell is? Welcome to it, my friends. Okay? There's this place in between. So we go there and imagine that outside of that, that's where like beautiful heaven is, okay, if you want to call it that. All right? But there's this other place. And you go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. When spirits are afraid, they have so much fear or negativity in their human life, they're afraid to go into the light or cross into that area because they think they're going to be judged. So they stay earthbound and they get, anything that stays earthbound without a body eventually just gets, okay? They're just a person, all right? They are a fragmented person too, okay? And what happens is that you can actually love those spirits so much that they won't want to come around you. But if you have fear, or you have darkness, or insecurity, or self-doubt, or self-hatred, or hatred of others, well, then they're like, ooh, buffet. Let me go and feed on that person for a while. And they'll blah, 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 blah in your ear. If you have suicidal thoughts, that's a spirit. Usually that's not you. Okay? So you've got to understand that the way to get spirits gone, find your happiness, find your joy, and don't fear them. They can't harm you. I have many, 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 many experiences with dark spirits, and I have not been harmed. Now, and someday we'll get into that. Maybe I should have ghost story time one time. It'll be we can go on for days. All right, so energies are another thing. So there can be space that holds negative charges. All right. If something really negative happened in a space, like I walked into a space and I was like, ooh, there was a rape right here. And I walked through this one time and I was like, whoa, somebody died right here. What happened? And they're like, oh yeah, this used to be a coal bin and a kid fell in here at 14 and died. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I can feel it. Okay. The spaces can hold a negative charge. It's residual energy, or if there's a super horrific, traumatic scene, the pain of that experience will actually, it's so horrific that it can actually radiate like a picture or an x-ray, can radiate and leave an impression through time. Okay. And so, you know, there might be a disembodied spirit, but it's really not a entity or spirit. It's just something replaying over and over again. Again, you can clear that out by helping that energy heal and transform by bringing it compassion and love. Now, humanoids. Oh, yeah. Hold on to your pants here for a minute, because we're going to get a little weird. What my guides have told me, take it or leave it, I'm not trying to convince you, but they said the universe is all part of Earth. Okay? It's all part of the illusion, all of it. So if you're like, I'm from Lemuria, well, that's still part of a humanoid experience. You were just a humanoid on Lemuria. Okay, or you know, maybe you were from some starseed planet. Well, you were still human. Okay, so so I want you to understand that humanoids are aliens. Okay, but they're all part of the human experience. Our Earth, over the next, and my guide said this a while ago, over the next 50 years since 2012. Are going to be going through transition until we're ready enough, until we can tame the ego within us enough to open up to say, oh, look, we're a part of this whole universe and there are all these beings, but we're not mature enough as a planet or a species to understand that yet. I have a question. So, Kelly, this is Samantha, Lindsay's girlfriend. Hi, Samantha, nice to meet you. So there's this idea of an entity often referred to as the parasite or archons, I think that's how it's pronounced, as an alien or other dimensional race or group of beings that has been with humanity since the very beginning of our development here on Earth. Yes, it's talked about by Carlos Castaneda. I read his books. Don Miguel Ruiz, read his, among many others. Yes, of course. What are your thoughts on the subject? We have had alien experiences forever. If you can open your mind to realize, of course, there are life on other planets. This is a vast universe that we live in. And all of that universe is part of our experience. Okay? And those, yes, those entities, I've had one show up in my bedroom one night. Okay? And you can call me crazy if you want to. I don't really care. You know, it happened, and that's all I will say about it. I think it's naive to think that, of course, that, you know, to think that there aren't other entities. So I do believe that they are there. Here's the thing: some are good and some are not so good. Some are wreaking some havoc. Some are part of the conspiracy stuff that you might see. All right, some are there. Take it or leave it. Listen to your own resonance, what resonates with you. But Samantha, I really do understand that. And again, we're going to talk about how do you actually deal with this then? How do you deal with this thought? So we're going to get there. So these entities, these spirits, things like that, these are still, all of them, just products of the dark force of the ego. Because most aliens have an ego too. All right, many don't. They're just light bodies, and they're in a planet that is maybe, you know, we're at the 3rd level. They're maybe at the, you know, the 10th level. Fabulous. Okay, but we're at the 3rd. We're a very young planet. Okay, so you know how I said, you know, if you really want to think about demons, you want to look at that. Did you know that the ego card in tarot is the devil? Yeah, the only devil there really is us. It's the ego. So you want to know where hell is? Welcome to it. Okay, this is hard. And again, the whole universe is a playground for the humanoid or human ego. It's just different levels of growth, different levels of technological growth, okay, different balances of masculine and feminine, okay? Some are good, some are bad, some are evil, some are angelic, some are just like you, okay? And as I said, Earth is a baby planet that's not ready to play with the universe yet. because we don't have enough collective humanity. Our collective human consciousness is not wise enough not to destroy it. The COVID was actually a step in the direction of getting you to be more global and more conscious. Now, how do you combat the dark forces? Okay, you choose the light. Guys, anytime you shine into the darkness, there's no more dark. It's just light. Okay, take a flashlight, shine it into the dark. You're eating up the dark. Okay, light always wins. I want you to think about that. All right, so what do? You have a choice. If you choose the light, this means that you are choosing consciously to connect to source. And you can call that God or your higher self or your creator or higher realms or love or Archangel Michael. I don't care. Jesus, I don't care who you call it. Okay, as long as you're connecting. Remember who you are. You are all a pure being of light. You're divine in nature, all right? You're kind and you're loving and you're beautiful and you're generous and you're compassionate and you're peaceful as a soul. But the human dark force of the ego keeps you stuck. You did this purposefully as a soul because you came here to learn to tame that ego. That is why I have the transition time classes. That's why. All right. You are here to learn to just radiate all of your innate wisdom from inside, from within, to be a pure compassion, acceptance, tolerant of anyone's human experience, forgiving, full of gratitude. You want to live in harmony with earth and all living things, all. Okay. You're going to see the beauty in all things, even when they're hard or dark. Okay, so you have choice. Choose the light or indulge the ego. So there are some ways that you know that this light has become you. All right, and then we're going to get into the other dark forces. This light has become you when you understand that you are a beautiful, loving, kind, playful, compassionate soul who chose to have this human ego experience. Understand that your soul knew exactly what it was doing, and it knew that no matter what, in one lifetime or other, eventually you'd choose the light over the dark. Okay, and it doesn't matter how many lifetimes it takes, they know you're going to do it. You knew you would do it. This light becomes you when you realize that your human experience is not your true reality. Okay, you come from an experience that is not governed by the ego. This is a classroom to help you understand. This is governed by, your true soul is governed by unconditional love. Earth is conditional. And this light will become you when you realize that the light within you was always there for you to choose, always. All right. And as soon as your ego pain, that you work through it enough, because it has built up enough that you're like, man, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm a wreck. I'm not playing with this anymore. I'm unhappy. So what happens is that you choose to tame the ego by healing the emotional wounds within you. That's what happens. All right. Choose to forgive yourself and all your perpetrators. Choose to continuously connect with your higher self and your creator. Choose to live in harmony with all of life. This is your choice. Appreciate and value your beauty and the delicate balance of all of life's coexistence within you. Move away from judgment of self and others. Accept the humility involved in the power of your internal strength. And you know what? You will find your worth and value within, okay? Instead of through through self-compassion. And you're going to transfer your self-compassion onto others. That's what happens. That's choosing the light. So funny, I see we lost some people. 3 people checked out, I think, because we were talking about aliens. It's just a really hard concept for people to talk about. They think you're whack. Yeah, I don't talk about it. I don't promote it, but it is what it is. So now let's get in and let's talk about macrocosm. Charlize says, you can put on weird pants with me all day. I love it. I love you. Thank you. Okay, so macrocosm, everyone, is this. There is, like I said, the humanity a dark force, all right? And it influences humanity, and it influences individuals, or it's created through individuals or groups. So it can either be a public dark force, a private, or secret, all right? And I just want to see a couple comments. I just want to say that. Oh, thank you. Caitlin says, me too. And Samantha, and they say, thank you for addressing the subject, even though it's kind of out there. Yeah, it's out there. But you know, and it's got to be said. And I think that the more we have enough strength to say it, it'll get normal. Okay, so public, private, or secret. There are politicians, scientists, business owners, agencies, families, rulers, cartels, cults, Illuminati, cabal, secret sex, sex, not S-E-X, S-E-C-T-S, for those of you listening on the phone. Okay, organization, agencies, governments, religious bodies, and philanthropic organizations. The agencies is actually agencies with an acronym. There are all kinds of acronym agencies that are behind the government, all right? So we have all this stuff out there. What do you do? What do you listen to? Okay. These societal global dark energies, they, as I said, they will influence and affect humanity either through societies or globally. And it could be just a small community or a large community, all right? They choose manipulation, greed, control, status, wealth, power, and world domination, or just domination, as the toys in their playground. And they will intentionally or unintentionally cast you as their puppet in their games. That's what they do, okay? They very often treat you as an expendable toy, and they will put profit before people, the animals, and the planet. Anyone who has any good conscience would never, ever serve you a McDonald's cheeseburger. It's not real food and it's harmful. So what happens is that these societal dark forces present in, or they're affecting almost all societies. They are going to affect you through things like the governmental rules, laws, policies, operations, food production, banking systems. And think about this: control, all right, power, money, status, the economic stability, medical systems, educational systems, religious institutions, employment, environment, news media, entertainment, your wars, okay, your military. All of these are used, okay? This doesn't mean that all of these are corrupt, but what it says is that there are forces or egos, okay, whether they're humanoid, whether they're organizations, whether they're human, whether they're groups, whatever it is, they're there manipulating. You can look at it or not. It's all up to you. But here's the thing. All of these dark forces, I don't care what it is, they're going to create angst. Okay? Remember, angst is like, God, really? They're going to create angst about the dark forces you believe are doing the manipulating, okay? You're going to have angst about that. And you're going to get into fear or anger or upset or disgust, okay? Or you're going to be like the 3 people who left and be like, I have angst against those people who believe in these forces that I don't. Oh my God, they're nuts. I really can't stand them. Either way, it's a dark force that creates a dark reaction, okay? Do you see how it gets people upset, whether they believe it or not? Okay, not everybody, but this is the typical. So these forces create angst. Now, when there's angst, our human experience can become hard and difficult and enslaving and frustrating and controlled and manipulated and sometimes really hopeless. You know, where you're like, I have no control over anything that's happening. I can't control lockdown. I can't control, you know, Monsanto. I can't control the banking system. I can't, what? See how it creates angst? And what happens is people are like, I'm going to post on Facebook every day about this politician, or I'm going to post about this and about this conspiracy. And it gets me so upset. I want you to feel into what that does to the human being. What is it creating inside of you? What is it doing to collective consciousness? Feel into it, okay? So when individuals feel upset and have a dark force to blame for their upset, they get into hate and rage and irritation and disgust, retaliation and belligerence. I will not stand. But you know what that is? It's just a choice to play with the dark forces. Now you're playing in their playground. You just chose to play with them. You chose to feed them. Hate breeds hate, people. Fear breeds fear, and retaliation only brings retaliation. You created an energy or a force inside of you of your own because you're mad at what they are doing. When you direct this energy at that, okay, what's going to happen is when you direct it, you're feeding it. Those energies love fear. Anger has fear underneath it. Okay? Feel into that. So I'm sure you're like, well, what the heck am I supposed to do now then, Ms. Schwegel? Let's talk about that. Both the human and humanity need healing, both. All right? Macrocosm versus microcosm, they're operating the same way. If you don't have the chaos, if you don't have the challenges, you're not going to change. We've got challenges internally and externally. Don't turn your back on the dark, people. Don't do it. Don't turn your back on the ego. Don't turn your back on what's going on in the world, okay? Don't pretend it's not there. Don't pretend there are no aliens. Will you please give me a break, okay? There are things there creating harm, misery, and chaos. That's the way this world works, but it's intentional. Allow yourself to become informed, okay? So that you can have a perspective or an understanding. Face the potential truths of the realities of manipulation, abuse, of power, corruption, conspiracy, control, secrecy. Face it, okay? And then make a choice. Make a choice to choose the light, just like you have to face your ego. You have to. If you don't face those dark pieces, they'll always be in charge, all right? You have to look that it's there and go, oh, I see it. I see it. Choosing light in regard to the societal global dark forces means this. You got to send them love and compassion, people. They're lost. Even if they're alien entities, that are there behind the government, secrecy, trying to take over the world. Well, it doesn't matter. You're not going to stop it unless you love them. Because everyone, please, you are energy. They are energy. Energy affects energy. And this is not like, oh my God, you're like an energetic being. No, you're energy. You're made of it. You break down into a universe. Okay, the table does, the air does, aliens do, Pluto does. Okay, the universe does. And anything dark that is creating darkness is able to continue creating darkness because there's fear. When you go, yep, I know that there's a potential, I don't know if this is real or not, there's a potential for these dark forces to be doing some pretty bad, nasty manipulation. Okay, yeah. And you know what? I acknowledge that it's there. Something's there. Something created that virus. Whatever it is, I have to look at the perfection. I choose to look at all the beautiful things that it has done for humanity. And I choose to send love to that virus and love to if there were people who created it, I send love to them. I don't know if they have or not. I don't know if it was just came from a bat. I don't know. All I know is I'm going to send the bat love. I'm going to send the meat markets love. I'm going to send the government's love. I'm going to just love them to death. And that's exactly it is. Kill them with compassion, people, so that they became so dark. Kill them with compassion so that they can't exist. Send them love, send them healing. Energy affects energy. And if you don't believe in these dark forces, well, okay, you have the choice to not believe it. Who cares? But don't scoff at those who do. That's just also creating angst. Move into love and tolerance within yourself. Okay? Now, Societal global forces are necessary as the dark force of the ego. They shape humanity as much as the ego shapes the human. Without these harsh consequences, okay, that are happening, without these, we're not going to change humanity. Because if humanity just keeps going, because everything is fine, we're going to keep destroying our rainforests and ignoring that free energy exists and that cancer's cures exist. We're going to keep taking big pharma. We're going to keep harming our bodies. Guys, if everything is going well, there's no motivation to change. So see the perfection. Open your eyes, look at what's out there, and then go, you know what? My knowledge of it will change collective. And my peace around the knowledge of it will change collective. Don't post hate pieces, okay? Post some compassion pieces. Sending love, though, guys, I need to say this, does not mean that you have to be inactive, okay? It doesn't mean that you check out and be like, well, I'm just doing nothing. I'm just gonna sit over here and be loved. You can be positive. You can be a positive advocate, be a positive teacher, a positive healer, be a guide, be a coach, be a speaker, counsel people on this, okay? Talk to them, bring your wisdom to other people. Just make sure that whatever intention you have is to bring others into the light. It's not to bring them further into fear and the dark. That's what we need to shift. I posted on the Facebook page a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful video. Watch it, okay? It's fantastic. I posted it this morning. That'll get you into that understanding. This is a good thing that happened to us. It's hard, but it's good. Even if it was created, which it most likely was, created by something of a dark force, okay? Stay factual in your stuff. Stay focused on change and results. Look for solutions. Be the light you want to see in the dark. Be the flashlight. Okay, don't bring more dark. So let's see, we got a comment here. Caitlin says, I feel that above and beyond compassion, it's also important to stand in our sovereignty and say no to dark forces that don't honor that and our boundaries. No, exactly. You've got to look at what you have control over. Okay? Do what's in your power to make a difference. That's why I'm teaching. This is the power I have. My power is to bring as many people as possible into a great space inside of them. Find yours. So I agree with you, Caitlin. All right. Charles says, what did you say you put on Facebook? There's a video. I forgot the name of it. If anyone remembers what the name is, let me know. But it was a video I posted this morning. And it's a little story time. It is fantastic. It's a man with a book and he's reading to his son. It's incredible. Okay. So look for it. I don't remember the name. So when it comes to global society, you are choosing the light when you have the courage and mindfulness to inform yourself of the potential dark forces that exist. All right. You're not putting your head in the sand. That when you can see your own negative or external reaction, okay, are you getting upset? Oh, no. That just brings more dark energy into the world. You're choosing the light when you have the courage to look deep within at your own wounding from the dark forces of the ego, okay, in a way to see why you're reacting the way that you are to the global dark forces. Heal and heal, okay? You have the courage to heal that within you that is hurt or wounded so that you can be the light and send light to the dark forces. Choose to remain in the light with knowledge of the dark. Choose to stop feeding the dark with dark. Choose to stop engaging as an unconsciously controlled puppet in the game of the dark forces and knowingly play a positive role. Okay, that's when you know you are choosing a light. Okay, we have choice. Marcia says she saw that and she said it's fabulous. Tomfoolery, yes, it's from Tomfoolery. Thank you. You guys, life is all about, whether it's at the macrocosm or the microcosm, is about conscious choice. Okay, whether it's you individually or us collectively. Stay positive. Avoid judgment. Don't scoff, criticize, get into strife. Okay, remember that where and how you direct your energy is not without consequence. It all has a consequence, even if it's individually or collectively. I'm going to talk about the story of the blue mist today in class, in the transition time. All right, remember, far-reaching consequences. And I'm going to say, I wrote this, having the courage to see the dark forces, understand their role in transformation, and choosing to be the light is actually bringing about far-reaching consequences, farther than you could ever imagine, ever, ever. So here's what I have to say, people. Choose the light. Yes, get in there and choose the light. That's it. All right. I have another class coming up. If you would like to join me today, it's coming up right now, actually in 5 minutes. I need to get that class up. It's not up yet. Well, you can sign into it. I'm just not there. This is transition time number 3, and it is about learning why and letting go. And it's part 2 of this, where we really learn to let go. This is a different Zoom meeting than this one. So if you need to, jot this down, okay? Or you can get on our Facebook page, right? And this is the new meeting ID. It's not the same, all right? So let's see if I can actually get out of here and let me post this stuff. There we go. I will post it in our chat for you to copy it and paste. How's that? Yeah. Okay, there it is. It's there for everyone to copy, cut, and paste. And, all right, question here. Caitlin says, someone asked me to write down the name of the doctor who talked about the SARS-CoV-2, the pathogen, blah, 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 blah. Okay, let's see. His name is Dietrich Klinghardt. He's an MD, PhD, and he talked about it in one of the videos he posted to his patient educational portal. Nice. So he's sophiaeducate.com. All right, so awesome, awesome information. Guys, fantastic seeing y'all here. Let me end this, and I am going to hopefully see many of you next door in the next meeting in about 3 minutes. Ciao, guys.